I was sitting at Sunday dinner when my stepmom smiled and said, "Honey, family shares everything." That's when I knew. She wasn't talking about recipes or memories. She was talking about my bank account. The one I'd built serving my country. The one she'd been trying to access for months. I smiled back. Took a sip of water. And said nothing. Because 3 days earlier, I'd found the folder. Hidden in my father's office. My social security number. My account details. And a handwritten note, consolidation plan, start with the savings. My hands were shaking when I read it. But my military training kicked in. I didn't cry. I didn't confront. I documented everything. And that's where my story truly began. Before I share this chapter of my life. If you've ever felt invisible in your own home, dismissed by the people who should protect you, or had to fight for what's rightfully yours, then this channel is for you. Subscribe to Jossy Revenge, where every story has a heartbeat. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. My mother died when I was 19. Cancer took her in 8 months. One day she was dancing in the kitchen to old gospel music, and the next, she couldn't lift her head from the pillow. I was in basic training when she passed. They let me come home for the funeral, but I had to leave the next morning. I remember my father standing in the driveway, shoulders shaking, watching me go. He looked so small. So broken. I understood when he started dating again. Grief is lonely. And Dad had always been the kind of man who needed someone to care for. Someone to cook breakfast with. Someone to fill the silence. He met Linda at a church picnic 2 years later. She was warm. Polite. She brought casseroles to the house and laughed at his jokes. She had soft hands and a gentle voice, and when she hugged me the first time we met, she whispered, "I could never replace your mother. But I'd love to be your friend." I wanted to believe her. I tried. At their wedding, I gave a toast. I said I was happy Dad found someone. That Mom would have wanted him to be loved. Linda cried. Dad cried. Everyone said it was beautiful. But 6 months into the marriage, things started shifting. It was small at first. Comments during phone calls. "Your father mentioned you got a promotion," she'd say. "That's wonderful. Military pays well these days, doesn't it?" Or, "We were looking at new furniture, but your father says we need to be careful with money." "Of course, you wouldn't know about that, you don't have a mortgage to worry about." I'd brush it off. She was just making conversation, right? Then came Thanksgiving. I came home on leave, excited to spend time with Dad. We were carving the turkey when Linda said, casually, "You know, it's such a shame you're spending all that money on rent. You should move back in with us. Save for your future." I looked at Dad. He was nodding. "She's right, sweetheart," he said. "Why throw money away when you have a home here?" I smiled. "I appreciate it, but I like my independence." Linda's expression didn't change, but her eyes did. Just for a second. Something cold flickered there. "Independence," she repeated. "That's important. But so is family, asterisk." The way she said family, it felt like a claim. Like she was marking territory. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in my childhood bedroom, staring at the ceiling, trying to shake the feeling that something was off. By Christmas, the comments got bolder. "Your father and I were talking," Linda said over eggnog. "You make good money. Have you thought about helping us with the house repairs? It's your home too." I set my cup down. "Linda, I send Dad money when he needs it. But I have my own bills." "Of course," she said sweetly. "I just think, well, family takes care of each other. Don't you agree?" Dad jumped in. "She didn't mean anything by it, honey." But she did. I could see it in the way she watched me. Like she was calculating. Measuring. The final straw came in February. I called Dad to check in, and Linda answered. She sounded flustered. "Oh, sweetheart, your father's at the store. But since I have you, can you confirm your bank's name for me? We're updating our records." My stomach dropped. "Why do you need that?" "Well," she laughed lightly, "we're setting up a family trust. For emergencies. Your father thought it would be good to have all our accounts linked. Just in case." I felt my jaw tighten. "Linda, my accounts are my own. I'm not linking anything." Silence. Then, her voice shifted. Colder. "I see. Well, I'll let your father know you're not interested in being part of this family's financial planning." She hung up before I could respond. I sat there, phone in hand, heart racing. The military taught me a lot of things. How to stay calm under pressure. How to read people. How to identify a threat before it strikes. And every instinct I had was screaming, "This woman is not your friend." I called Dad that night. "Dad, I need to be very clear. My finances are not up for discussion. Not with you. Not with Linda. Not with anyone. Do you understand?" He sighed. "Honey, she's just trying to help." "No," I said firmly. "She's overstepping. And if this keeps happening, I'm going to have to distance myself." There was a long pause. "All right," he said quietly. "I'll talk to her." But I knew she wouldn't stop. And I was right. Have you ever felt like someone was circling you? Waiting for the perfect moment to strike, ***. Because that's exactly what Linda was doing. And I was about to find out just how far she was willing to go. 3 weeks later, I flew home for Dad's birthday. Linda insisted on throwing him a party. She'd invited half the neighborhood, decorated the house with balloons, and baked his favorite lemon cake. She played the role of devoted wife perfectly. I watched her all evening. Smiling. Laughing. Touching Dad's shoulder. Calling him honey in that sugary voice. But I also watched the way she looked at me when she thought I wasn't paying attention. Like I was an obstacle. The party ended around 9. Guests filtered out, hugging Dad, thanking Linda for her hospitality. I stayed behind to help clean up. "You don't have to do that, sweetheart," Linda said, taking a trash bag from my hands. "You're a guest." "I want to help," I said. She smiled tightly. "Suit yourself." Dad had already gone upstairs. His knee had been bothering him, and he'd mentioned wanting to rest. Linda excused herself to take a phone call, leaving me alone in the kitchen. That's when I noticed it. The office door was cracked open. Just slightly. My father's office was his sanctuary. He kept it locked when he wasn't using it. Always. It was where he paid bills, kept important documents, handled paperwork. But tonight, the door was open. I shouldn't have gone in. I know that. But something pulled me forward. I pushed the door open slowly. The room smelled like old books and Dad's cologne. His desk was neat, pens in a holder, a small stack of mail, his reading glasses folded on top of a notepad. And then I saw it. A manila folder. Sitting right there in the center of the desk. My name was written on the tab in Linda's handwriting. My heart started pounding. I picked it up. Opened it. And my world tilted. Inside were photocopies of documents I'd never given anyone. My social security card. My military ID. My last 2 pay stubs. A printout of my credit report, dated from last week. There were handwritten notes in the margins. Savings account, approximately $47,000. No co-signers. Clean credit. Possible consolidation with household expenses? I felt like I couldn't breathe. There were more pages. Applications for joint accounts. Printouts about power of attorney. A list of my assets, my car, my savings, even the small investment account I'd started. At the bottom of the folder was a printed email. From Linda to someone named Maurice. Maurice, I need your advice. My stepdaughter has significant savings and no dependents. Her father and I are struggling with medical bills and home repairs. What are our options for accessing her accounts if she won't contribute willingly? She's family, so there must be legal pathways. Let me know. L. I read it 3 times. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the folder. She wasn't just interested in my money. She was planning to take it. Find something interesting? I spun around. Linda was standing in the doorway. Arms crossed. Face blank. I held up the folder. What is this? She didn't flinch. Exactly what it looks like. You pulled my credit report. You have copies of my private documents. How did you even get these? She stepped into the room. Closed the door behind her. Your father helped, she said calmly. He's worried about you. You're young. Reckless. You don't understand how to manage money. We thought it was best to keep an eye on things. Keep an eye on things? I repeated, my voice rising. You're planning to steal from me. Don't be dramatic, Linda said coldly. This is a family. What's yours is ours. That's how it works. Your father raised you. Sacrificed for you. And now that you're doing well, you act like you don't owe him anything. I stared at her. This woman, who'd cried at their wedding, who'd hugged me and called me family, was standing here, justifying fraud. Where's my father? I asked quietly. Asleep. Does he know what you're doing? She smiled. Just slightly. He knows we need help. And he knows you're too selfish to offer it. So yes, sweetheart. He knows. What would you do if someone you trusted betrayed you like this? I wanted to scream. To grab her by the shoulders and demand answers. But my military training kicked in. Stay calm. Assess. Plan. I took a slow breath. I'm taking this, I said, holding up the folder. Linda laughed. Go ahead. It's just copies. I walked past her. Out of the office. Up the stairs. I didn't sleep that night. I sat on my bed, folder open in front of me, and I did what I was trained to do. I documented everything. I took photos of every page. I made notes. I checked my credit report. There were 2 unauthorized inquiries from the last month. I froze my accounts. Changed my passwords. Set up alerts. And then I called a lawyer. The next morning, I left before Dad woke up. I didn't say goodbye to Linda. I didn't need to. Because I was done playing nice. And I was going to make sure she never tried this again. I didn't speak to my father for 3 weeks. He called. Texted. Left voicemails asking if I was okay, if something had happened, if he'd done something wrong. I didn't answer. I was busy. I spent those weeks building my case. I met with my lawyer twice. I opened new bank accounts at a different institution. I filed a fraud alert with all 3 credit bureaus. I requested copies of every document that had been accessed without my permission. And I waited. My lawyer advised me to handle it carefully. This is family, she said. If you want to pursue criminal charges, you can. But it'll get messy. Expensive. Painful. I don't want to destroy him, I told her. I want them to stop. She nodded. Then we set boundaries. Legally. In writing. With consequences if they're violated. That's exactly what I planned to do. Mother's Day weekend, Linda sent me a text. Sweetheart, I know things have been tense. But it's Mother's Day, and I'd love for us to spend it together as a family. I'm making your father's favorite dinner. Please come. Let's move forward. Linda. I stared at that message for a long time. The audacity. She'd tried to rob me. And now she wanted me to show up and pretend everything was fine. I texted back. I'll be there. 6 p.m. Her response came immediately. Asterisk, wonderful. I'm so glad. See you then. I showed up at 5:45. Dad answered the door. His face lit up when he saw me. Sweetheart. He pulled me into a hug. I've missed you. I didn't know what happened, you just disappeared. I hugged him back. He smelled like aftershave and coffee. Like home. We need to talk, Dad. His smile faltered. About what? Everything. Linda appeared behind him, wiping her hands on a dish towel. She was wearing a floral dress and pearls. She looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine. There she is, she said brightly. Come in, come in. Dinner's almost ready. I walked inside. The dining room table was set beautifully. Candles. Flowers. Cloth napkins. She'd gone all out. We sat down. Linda served pot roast, mashed potatoes, green beans. She poured wine. She smiled and chatted about the neighbors, the weather, a sale at the department store. Dad seemed relieved. He kept looking between us, like he was grateful the tension had lifted. I let her talk. I ate my dinner. Sipped my water. Nodded politely. And then, during dessert, Linda made her mistake. You know, she said, cutting into her slice of pie, I was thinking. Now that you're doing so well financially, maybe you could help us out with some of the medical bills. Your father's knee surgery wasn't cheap, and insurance didn't cover everything. Dad looked uncomfortable. Linda, we don't need to talk about this now. It's fine, I said calmly. Actually, I'm glad you brought it up. I reached into my bag. I pulled out a folder. Not Linda's folder. Mine. I set it on the table between us. Linda's smile froze. What's this? Dad asked. Open it, I said. He did. Inside were printed copies of everything. The documents Linda had collected. Her emails. The credit inquiries. The consolidation plans. Screenshots of her messages to Maurice. Dad's face went pale as he flipped through the pages. What is this? I looked at Linda. She wasn't smiling anymore. 3 weeks ago, I said evenly, I found a folder in your office. Linda had been collecting my personal information. My social security number. My bank statements. My credit report. She was planning to access my accounts without my permission. That's not, Linda started. Don't, I said sharply. I have proof. I have emails. I have documentation of unauthorized credit inquiries. I've spoken to a lawyer. What you did is called identity theft. It's a federal crime. Dad looked at Linda. Is this true? She opened her mouth. Closed it. Her hands were shaking. I was trying to help, she whispered. We're struggling, and she has so much, and I thought. You thought you could steal from me, I said. And you thought I wouldn't notice. Dad set the folder down. He looked like he'd been slapped. I didn't know, he said quietly. I swear, I didn't know it went this far. But you knew something, I said. You helped her get copies of my documents. Didn't you? He closed his eyes. She said she needed them for a family trust. For emergencies. I thought it was for your protection. Have you ever watched someone you love realize they've been manipulated? Asterisk asterisk. It's heartbreaking. I reached across the table and took his hand. Dad, I love you. But I need you to understand something. My money is mine. Not yours. Not Linda's. Mine. I earned it. I've worked for it. And I will not tolerate anyone trying to take it from me. He nodded slowly. Tears were sliding down his face. I turned to Linda. I'm not pressing charges, I said. But only because I don't want to put my father through that. However, I am giving you both a choice. I pulled out another document. A legal agreement my lawyer had drafted. This is a binding acknowledgement that you will never attempt to access, control, or manipulate my finances again. You will not request my personal information. You will not open accounts in my name. You will not contact my banks, my employers, or my credit bureaus. If you violate this agreement, I will pursue full legal action. Criminal and civil. I slid it across the table. Sign it. Linda's face was red. Her hands were clenched into fists. You're being cruel, she hissed. I'm your family. No, I said quietly. You're the woman who married my father. Family doesn't steal. Family doesn't lie. Family doesn't manipulate. Dad picked up the pen. He signed. Then he slid it to Linda. She stared at him. You're really going to sign it, he said, his voice broken. Please. She signed. I took the document. Folded it. Put it back in my bag. Then I stood up. Happy Mother's Day, Linda, I said. I walked to the door. Dad followed me. I'm sorry, he whispered. I'm so sorry. I hugged him. I forgive you, Dad. But I need time. And I need you to understand, I'm not your little girl anymore. I'm an adult. And I will protect myself. He nodded. I left. I didn't cry until I got to my car. But when I did, it wasn't out of sadness. It was relief. Because I'd taken my power back. And no one would ever take it from me again. Moral of the story. That was 2 years ago. Dad and I talk now. Not as often as before, but we're rebuilding. He left Linda 6 months after that dinner. Turns out I wasn't the only person she'd manipulated. I keep that signed agreement in a fireproof safe. I've never had to use it. But it's there. A reminder. Not of anger. Not of revenge. But of the day I chose myself. Here's what I learned: silence isn't peace. Letting people cross your boundaries to keep the peace isn't love, it's self-abandonment. Your money, your life, your choices, they're yours. And you don't owe anyone access to them just because they call themselves family. Real family protects you. Respects you. Celebrates your success instead of trying to control it. And if they don't, you have every right to walk away. I didn't lose my father that day. I found myself. If my story touched you, hit that subscribe button for more emotional tales from Jossy Revenge, and even if it didn't, come on, subscribe anyway, I'll win you over next time. Drop a comment, like the video, and let's keep the stories alive. Thanks for watching.